This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
I want to start with continuing on the prologue stuff. Heston Kjerstad. I know you're a Braves guy, but you got to respect what Heston's been able to accomplish lately for Baltimore. What do you think is going to happen with him in the future? Is he going to stay there, or is he going to be used as trade bait for trying to get Baltimore another player that they need for this roster?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I obviously don't have anybody inside the Baltimore organization who could shed any light on that. But I love the kid, first of all. He's one of the best signings they've had, obviously, over the last couple of decades with Dave Van Horn. And getting to the league at such a young age, he could have a long staying power there. But obviously he's a huge asset for them, whether he's on the team helping them. I mean, they've overtaken the Yankees, or at least tied the Yankees at the top of the AL East. And I just love that a franchise that had struggled for so many years in really the toughest division in baseball, I suppose, has made that move. But I do not know what the ultimate decision would be with him. But when you draft him in the first round and he's producing for you, I would say he'd be a key cog in whatever postseason you run you make, and basically in this window they have right now with some of the good decisions they've made with their roster to, that it could be a window that's open for a while.
Tom, Arkansas baseball got a couple recent commits. Michael Anderson from Rhode Island, Zach Root, pitcher from East Carolina. You think about Root, think about Jimenez from Oregon State, and Beitelscheiss from Ohio State. How do you think Dave's kind of, again, these guys have just committed. They haven't signed yet, at least publicly. But how do you think Dave's kind of compiled his pitching rotation thus far, considering you're losing guys like Hagen Smith, probably Faraday, Tigert, and others on this roster?
Yeah, exactly, and very likely Mason Molina as well. I mean, we don't know that, but it's very likely. They want to make sure they have enough pitching, starting pitching, guys who can give you 5 or 6 innings, and, there's going to be a starting rotation. There's going to be the midweek guys, but then, if someone gets hurt or if they have a struggle late in the year the way Molina and Tigert both did, that you can plug someone else in and get those 5 innings. And that's what, that was kind of the downfall of this year's team, is they couldn't do that. And I think if you have enough pitching depth, because you got guys who are coming off, who were injured, Dietz and Hockman and so on, that could be potential starters. And by adding these other guys, you're just giving yourself extra depth. And so you'll have quality long guys who can take the place of what a Will McIntyre did for you, potential closers among the group. And, the depth of pitching is something Arkansas has got to upgrade, or the starting pitching for next year.
Yeah. Tom Murphy with us, brought to you by the Arkansas Beef Council. Tom, I was wondering, as we were kind of going through some pro hogs and just some different stuff, and we were talking about Kendall Diggs and the surgery and talking about the draft, and I just wonder with NIL how prevalent it is enough with baseball yet that, where's the cutoff in the draft? Where's the cutoff in the money? And I know that's an individual answer, and it's tough to pinpoint, but with NIL in baseball, I would think with fewer rounds in the draft, money on the college side, some of these guys that might leave or don't have the leverage, you're likely to keep in place.
Yeah, that is a great question, and it's a dynamic that's had to be it's been increased in importance in the last few years. The calculus these kids and their advisors have to make, and their families, on what do we do to maximize our value and our earning potential here. So certainly a lot more than in recent years, a baseball kid who may not be drafted as high as they want, or they get drafted kind of late, might make the decision to stay another year in college if they're going to be a stud on a team, and versus getting in the minor leagues and riding those buses and what have you that they do. So it's a great question, and obviously it comes down to each individual player's decision on what's in their best interest. But it certainly would play well, and that's what you could tell has that component is something that you could tell has got Dave Van Horn a little frustrated that the draft was moved from June to July, and it's just another month that coaches, they try to tell kids to the best of their ability what their future is in the program based on a lot of other guys' decisions. And, you don't want to lie to anybody about what your status is on the team, but it's a whole nother month that you have to kind of be on pins and needles on who will be drafted, what it will take for them to actually sign, and then what promises you've made to the kids on your roster or incoming talent.
And I'm not going to pretend to know the ins and outs of the portal windows and all of those things for baseball, but it makes you wonder, with that draft being moved back, are there further adjustments needed within the sport of college baseball to alleviate some of that pressure on that window? I don't know the answers, but guys like Dave Van Horn and his peers, whoever makes these rules and decisions on those committees, they may just sit down and refigure the recruiting calendar.
Exactly. I mean, they're up against Major League Baseball, and they wanted to have the draft around the All-Star game. That sounds great. But you can bet that college baseball has made it clear to Major League Baseball what it does to them, with Dave Van Horn obviously being a vocal, advocate of the previous. But so, yeah, you're right. It's a tangled mess, and I mean, all the changes that are taking place in all of major college sports, with football and all that, we're in for. I mean, we've been going through seismic changes in the last 4 or 5 years since NIL hit in 2018, and it's just going to keep the ripples are going to keep happening until I don't know what it's going to settle down and look like, but it's starting to look like a minor professional league feeding into the major leagues in some of these sports.
So maybe it's time to have a serious conversation about moving the college baseball season back a few weeks or closer to a month.
Yeah, you make a point. I mean, obviously, they're supposed to be going to school to, learn and, go to class and stuff. And I don't know what it would do to the academic calendar if you move baseball even further into June. Possibly
they're out of school in May
July.
now. I mean, they spend the last month doing nothing but baseball. So, I don't. A lot of these guys are at Cape Cod or one of the other prep leagues. In the summer, I know that Dave's got 3 guys up there in the Cape Cod League. So, it affects some of those things. But I think college baseball's got and this isn't the place for this conversation, but they got broader issues about, is this a regional or a national sport? Maybe moving the season back so more teams up north could be more competitive.
School? Just without school.
Again, the spring semester ends in May. They're not in school from May 10th till the end of the season anyway. So what would it matter if they're out of school May 10th and they keep playing baseball? It would just free up more of the heart of the academic schedule in February for them to focus more on that.
The heart of the academic schedule.
Right. The heart of the I know that rings true with you, but I don't know. I don't know what the answers are, but I know that guys like Dave Van Horn, Tom, get put up against the wall when they're just waiting on the draft, and then they lose, 2 or 3 or 4 kids they're counting on.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not like, Major League Baseball where you have a big roster in minor leagues and you can move guys around free agency or all that. You can't do it. So you do bring up an interesting concept, and baseball is no different than these other sports. They got a lot of challenges facing them, and a lot of changes have already happened, and I think they will continue to happen.
Yeah. Moving the season back does nothing to that aspect of how the draft affects you, but I think it makes this, you're not playing in 12-degree weather. Well, they don't play in 12-degree, but you're not having to practice and find, indoor workouts. And, that's part of the reason the sport has become regional. It's one of the reasons why you had all ACC and SEC teams in Omaha is weather. So maybe pushing back a month would help the sport as a whole. I don't know.
Tom, I don't think that the sport in football is helped by the realignment within the SEC, the ACC, and the Big Ten. You could say that, well, we might have some more competitive games and compelling stories, but the sport, and not just football, but college sports itself, is not going to be helped. I wonder from your vantage point who you think Texas and Oklahoma will impact the most in this league. Is it Arkansas, or is that just the view that we take being in the state and talking about the Razorbacks on a daily basis?
Well, I mean, clearly it impacts everybody. I mean, A&M tried to get away from Texas by joining the SEC, and now they're back in with Texas. and not a pleasant situation. And before Texas even joins the league, they have a coach go from one to the other, creating even more animosity between the two. So it impacts everybody. Does this give the SEC a better chance to have more teams in the 12-team playoff? Certainly it does. Texas was in the playoff last year. So, it impacts everybody. And certainly it impacts Arkansas, because you have, in Oklahoma, you have a school that's probably the third closest Division I, maybe the second closest Division I school or FBS level school, autonomy group, whatever, to, Oklahoma State being the closest. And then I think OU would be next. And then you've got the long-term rival with, Arkansas and Texas went many, many years where one or the other was going to win the Southwest Conference. And by virtue of being at the top of the league, they were always in the top 10. And so the old folks who know their Southwest Conference football know what that rivalry was like back in the day. So it clearly has a big impact on Arkansas, but it's the whole league. And to think that you're going to have ACC games with Stanford playing somebody, it just blows my mind. And next fall is going to be so weird, because there might be days where we'll forget what conference somebody's in, and have to look at the standings to see who's where. And
you're exactly right.
I don't know if it's great for the overall health of the sport, but we are where we are.
It's terrible.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.